Assistant Superintendent of Police Fitzroy Yearwood was the communications director at the Belize Police Department up until the time of his passing on Tuesday evening. A.S.P. Yearwood suffered a massive stroke on Holy Saturday that left him hospitalized and unresponsive. 2 days later, unfortunate news of his passing surfaced. Tonight, he is being remembered for his stellar service and infectious personality. We spoke with Karim Musa, the Minister of Home Affairs.
ASP Fitzroy Yearwood was only 47 years young, and so this definitely came as a devastating, a sudden and untimely loss for the police department, and I'm certain for his family, and I want to extend my condolences to his wife and his children and his entire family, the entire Yearwood family. Fitzroy was so many things to so many different people. Of course, you all know him in his PR capacity, and likewise the rest of the country know Fitzroy from his nightly reports on the news representing the Belize Police Department as a master communicator, really.
Over a decade ago, Yearwood was featured in an I Am Belize profile where he spoke about his battle with diabetes and pancreatitis, which at the time landed him in the hospital in a critical condition. In the interview, he recounted the near-death experience and his fear of not living to be at his children's graduation ceremonies.
When the doctors told me that I might not live and this is the only procedure that could save my life, I kind of had some difficulties accepting what was in front of me, and this was that if I do it, I still might not live, and if I don't do it, I surely won't live. So I had to deal with all that, and then they began bringing in the Anglican priests. They brought in people to speak to me. I kind of began to prepare myself for what would have been at that time the inevitable. Just in the event I didn't come out, I mean, it was hard to even think that I wouldn't be able to see my children probably graduate from primary school, high school, and even college. I mean, it's something that you just, I don't know, it's out of this world to describe. Going through this experience really changed me because, yes, medical officers can do their best, they can try all sorts of procedures, but if the Almighty is ready, you, no matter what they do for you, nothing will help you.
Following his recovery, Yearwood left working in the field as a police officer to serve in the department's press office. That is where he became the face of the Belize Police Department and a staple in the nightly news. Commissioner of Police Chester Williams spoke highly of Yearwood's service to the country in his capacity as communications director for the department.
When I became the Commissioner of Police, I saw the need to have someone who can be a good intermediary between the police and the media, and I could not have thought of anyone better than Fitzroy. He have that charisma, that touch that the media loved about him. I know at times, yes, you have your differences, like with any other relationship. You do have your differences at time, but he was always one who was always willing to facilitate the media. Sometimes I would see even late at night when something would happen, he would post on the media blog and brief you all. And sometimes I would call him and say, "But Fitzroy, why you brief the media this hour of the night? Leave that for tomorrow." He said, "Boss, I just want me to know what happened." And I said, "Okay, Fitzroy, no problem." But that was the type of person that he was.
Isani Cayetano, the news director at Channel 5, encountered ASP Yearwood a little over a decade ago in a professional capacity. Since then, they have had numerous interactions both on a professional and personal level.
When I look at perhaps our Monday morning meetings where we go over to the Raccoon Street Police Station, despite the fact that sometimes we would wait for an inordinate period of time, when Fitzroy comes around, even if we were a bit ticked off for waiting outside for that length of time, he brings a certain spirit to the room that you no longer feel ticked off. You're running a joke. He's always jovial and what have you. There is a picture that him and I took, I would want to think towards the end of last year, if I'm not mistaken, where it's ironic that we were both at a funeral for a mutual friend of ours, you know, and I reflect on that image because, you know, despite the fact that we know of his medical history, one would not have thought that, well, for me, that that would have been the last picture that him and I took in that particular gathering, celebrating the life of another friend of ours who had passed. And so I just look at that and I reflect and I say, you know what, life is really short when you look at it from that point of view.
We prayed, but at the end of the day, God took him home, and who are we to question him? He knows best. Perhaps the good Lord need a PR officer beside him to communicate with him, and so we will see the good messages that will be coming to us from the Lord through Fitzroy.
Reporting for News 5, I am Paul Lopez.